Hey, Adrian. Thank you for joining us today for the masterclass. We're very excited to have you, and I'm happy to look through your work here. So this is actually really nice, right? So this is me just interacting with your work, not for the first time because I went through it, but just within the last half hour or so, being familiar with your website. And so this is me approaching you with fresh eyes. And like I said, one of the things that we do is we are very honest about everything. So I'm going to give you my honest, like, first take at your website and the whole thing. So first off, this is your landing page. This is what happens when you go to your site. And the first thing that I know that there's the menu bar up here, and like I just want there to be like something right here. Usually with an artist's work, it's like some images or a gallery or a demo reel or something that you want to like either read or click on, or a little bit of an about page, or just kind of something. I mean, I get that it's nice and clean in a landing, but it almost feels like there should be buttons right here that take me to the thing that you really want me to see. This logo up here is fine. I can't really read what's on the bottom side there, but that's kind of one of those things with logo design. You want to make sure that they read as a postage stamp. So I would just maybe take that thing off and just leave the A and the M of your name would be really cool. Yeah, and I think you could probably take this off too, and just leave it just the image and just like what's going on here, kind of above the fold. Let's see. So, I know that I'm probably supposed to look at just the lighting stuff, but I'm a human being, so I'm going to look through all of it, and just click on what's interesting. So some of these tests are really, really cool. Like this feel like old timey cartoons, and they're a lot of fun. And I'm never going to give animation feedback for anyone, but I just want to say that those are pretty cool. This format of having everything kind of it's like blog style, with everything in kind of a vertical orientation. It's totally fine. It's just like sometimes you mix it up with having like these galleries and that. So I would either make it consistent, like either make it always, I guess you haven't broken up here into Maya and 3D Studio Max. I wouldn't do that. Your lighting work is your lighting work. Your animation work is your animation work. Because again, nobody really cares what software you're using to make this stuff. Unless they're asking specifically, and then that way you can just add it on the demo reel. Oh, one thing, lighting is misspelled up here. That's Lighting. Just notice that. So, and then the last ones, I'll go back to the lighting stuff here in a second. But same deal here. It's just like having one picture on its own down here. Again, Photoshop composition versus before and after Photoshop edits. Photoshop is Photoshop. I would say you're good to go with that. And then your bio. This is nice. All this stuff is nice here, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. And then your contact. Yeah, that's all good. That looks good that way. So getting back into your materials and lighting. And I should say, I meant to say this too. So one thing about your Photoshop stuff, I think so. So this one, it feels like the saturation is a little bit too goosed. This one, especially in the sky, it feels a little bit too goosed. Adding this is nice on top of there. This one I thought was really nice. This is a nice color correction, adding some bloom and some values in the skin and getting that more natural. I think that's really nice. But just be careful with this and make sure you're refining it down a little bit more, making sure that you're showing people. So I think like this one, it doesn't feel like it's adhering to the shadows very well, and it feels a little bit lifted. So I would watch out for. I would take that one down. And my gut reaction on this one is that her skin tone is now getting a little bit too saturated. And the butterfly is nice, but I would just either. And then it's also a little bit crunchy. Like we're losing some value in here in the hair. It just looks like a color corrected JPEG as opposed to like a raw image where you're able to get some more shadow detail out. And so I would lift, if you can, I would lift some of the shadows in there. And then for this one, this is funny because now I know it's you. What does this play? Oh, see, I didn't even notice that before. I would actually, yeah, it's fine. That's fine. You can probably just leave that there. For this one, it just feels like you're taking down some of the saturation. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just think that these are pretty, like this one's nice because it's actually changing of the scene a little bit. The one thing I would want to see on this one is a little bit more influence from the light from this shape onto him. So seeing it kind of like rim around him a little bit, that would be kind of cool. But yeah, because one of the things is when you give someone your entire website is they're going to go through it all. So I'll start with that and then I'll get into your materials and lighting stuff here. So first instinct when I looked at this, I was like, oh, this is too dark. So like whenever you're seeing a car in a showroom, you're whether it's CG, whether it's photo or what, you're always going to see, like I pulled this up as a reference, like this is about the darkest you're ever going to see the car paint get. You get a little bit of shadow in there, but you definitely want to see a distinction between the tire black with a little bit of specularity and the black inside of here. Where in yours, like this kind of starts to get muddled together a little bit. So I think overall, I think that we definitely need some more ambient light kind of coming in from the outside. Because again, whenever you're dealing with reflective surface, mirrors, drinking glasses, car paint, when you, instead of like hitting this with light won't actually make it brighter. What makes it brighter is surrounding it with lit objects that it can reflect, or having cards, like white cards around it. Like it looks like you have something above it here that's giving it this reflection. Give some reflections on the side too, some shaping into this region here. So you can really start to feel those curves, but you definitely don't want to feel too much darkness in the side panels. It's okay up underneath and inside these like deep dive areas, but like you definitely don't want them there. So that was my first instinct there. Going into this Model T, so one of the things that I noticed right away about it was these black headlights. And I think that you definitely want to, let's see, I know I had a, where'd it go? I had a headlight skull. There we go. Headlights are glass, and then they have light bulbs underneath that reflect back into mirrored surfaces, and then those reflect out. So you want to make sure that that is glass reading through into something else. Now, I don't know how Model T headlights are. I would have to look for more reference on that. But my guess is there is because this is how lights are now, there's a clear, smooth coat of like plexiglass or glass on the outside, and then the inside is all this kind of refracted light or whatever, and then the bulb. So you would want to mimic that look for sure. There's some hot spots going on here. Like looking at this, I can't tell if this is the rear view mirror or what this object is. In the background here, there's kind of a hard line. There's a lot of noise back here, and the same thing with this one. Just like a lot of noise in the shadows. This doesn't feel like a clean render. There's an aliased edge here. And I know, and you always kind of discount it a little bit or give it a little bit of a pass because it's a website and you know that the person has to use JPEG images or PNGs or whatever. But this feels like a lot of noise. Like it feels like you could either increase the samplings or make the render bigger. These contact shadows feel very lifted in here. There needs to be a little bit more ambient occlusion type shadows, and same thing in here where these are getting too dark. Some of these areas are feeling a little bit too lifted. This grill feels a little bit too perfect chromy. It would be a little bit more like a brush metal. And then so like in this Model T, you can see there's just like a lot more reflections in the paint, and then I don't know if there may just not be glass there, but in just like you can kind of see the edge of the world right there, so you'd expect to see a little bit more in there. And then these car white wall tires, you want them to really kind of pop and jump forward a little bit. And then just watch out for these very bright blown out areas in the background, because you want the car to kind of read off in the background a little bit. So in this case, like I said, we talked about light over dark. This is like a good light over dark. Dark over light. This is a light value over a dark background. And you can see this is a good shadow density here. So you want to match something along these lines for your underside shadow. Going through here. This is fun. I like the T-Rex a lot. You can do some more in here. Like you can vignette this in just a little bit more. And again, because this car paint feels a little bit heavy. This reflection is nice, but this it feels like it could be a little bit lighter than that. And the same thing in here. There's it just feels like there's an empty void in there, and this reflection just feels kind of mirrored without any real dark values in there. And then the Ford logo, I don't know if Ford had the same logo back then. Now that I think about it, I was going to say that feels too modern, but truthfully, I don't know. I'd have to look into that, but that feels like a modern logo there. Okay, getting into this set. Overall, it it feels like there's a lot of, like, it doesn't feel like you're highlighting the sculptures the way that, you know, these lights would indicate the kind of art. It almost feels like in a couple of these that the light is hitting the wall stronger than it's actually hitting the sculpture. And here this sculpture pretty much blends right in with the wall. There's no light hitting it. The scale of this wall feels off to me. It feels very, very large. It makes the sculptures feel like they're about, you know, 6 inches high. And I think that we can get a lot more to feel a sense of scale and a sense of separating the same thing here. Like this bump texture feels very, very large, which makes everything else feel small. And then these feel a little bit flat. Like there's not a lot of shaping in here. There's not a lot of variation going across from one side to the other. Like I mean, you've got these lights coming up here. Like I feel like the rest of the room would be almost in darkness, right? And then this ground texture feels a little bit, it feels like a wood grain, but it's not wood. It feels marbly. I'm not sure. So I think overall, your biggest thing is that it feels very flat. There's not a lot of dark value and light value to focus the eye. I was looking at some reference of sculptures here, and you're going to see like a lot. It's like you're treating them as good character lighting, where you're going to set them over a darker background and really focus things in on these characters. You know, like you want to create dynamic lighting on them to really sell what they have. Yeah, and there's just my Model Ts there again. But yeah, you definitely want to have these. I guess they're lights, but they almost look, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, they might be candles. Whatever. You want to focus in the light on the sculptures, let the background go darker. You want this side of the room to go darker away from the light source, because it's like, it just doesn't feel like it's daylight. It just feels like all ambient because there's no shadows being cast over here. It's all just like, it's all just very, very even. So I think, yeah, again here, I know that these light sources are here. This kind of feels like the outside, but if this is the outside, there should be shadows screaming across here. There's no shaping in the ceiling, and just getting some variation up in there would really, really help a lot. In terms of the bedroom scene here, I like that you're getting these patches of sunlight out there. Let me go back to this. So this is nice that we're kind of getting these blown out areas. This would get darker though, especially as you go up the wall this way. And this being the brightest, it feels like some of the bright values would be closer to the window, and this would be a little bit falling off. And then let's see. Yeah, same thing. The wood grain texture on the ground here doesn't quite feel right. It feels too deep and too big. It feels like, yeah, and it also feels more like cracked rock, as opposed to a wood grain. And whenever you're doing a screen, we'll show you how to do this. You know, the screens, when they're rendered, or actually when they're photographed, they're very bright and glowy, so you would never see this much dark value or contrast. So I would kind of say like this would just feel like a glowy element. And then here, yeah, it's just like there's not enough dark value. Like the wall kind of looks the same going up here, so the ceiling looks the same as the side. Like it would be really nice to get some more shaping up in there. And then getting into this lightsaber piece, it's just a little bit too hard edge. I like the idea. I would kill this light source over here and just allow this to be the driving force in the scene. Although this isn't bad. It's just they play off of each other too much. Like if this is this bright, you would never see this edge. It would be glowy and blown out. Yeah, and then the refraction on this bottle, it feels like it's solid glass by that refraction level. I think it would be a little bit less in real life. And in terms of putting together a still life, there's a couple things you want to watch out for. Two of them that I want to discuss here. Like one, again, lots and lots of render noise. This feels like a quick test as opposed to the final product. You don't want to see the edge of the world ever with you want to make sure that the audience feels like they're in an actual real space. And the last thing is like you want to, with still lifes, you want to tell a story. And maybe this is, but it's like a lightsaber, a bottle of lotion, an empty glass jar, a coffee thing, and a book. And maybe there's more of a story there, but I want there to be something kind of tying it all together conceptually. But that would be my feedback on your work. In terms of where how TDU could fit into your game, I think you would benefit a lot from TDU courses. I think that we could help you, especially in your in your environments, and B, we'd help you get some character lighting on your under your belt. So I think that would be a question that somebody would have when they were looking to hire you. Is that's okay? Great, he can do a car, he can do some rooms. Can this guy? Can he light a character? Can he create eye dings? Can he get shaping in the eye? Can he focus the viewer's eye on that stuff? And even if you have great environment lighting, you have to prove that too. You have to demonstrate the ability to do the job before they give you the job. That's kind of the way the world works. So if you have any questions for me, feel free to email me at mike@td-u.com, and I'll be happy to answer anything that you may have. And I think that where you are right now is you're totally in the right spot. This is what work looks like when you're learning and progressing. We need to get you to the next level and get your work a more professional polish and your website a more professional polish, and position yourself in a spot where we can have you start applying for jobs and going and moving. So again, questions, let me know, and look forward to talking to you soon. All right, take care, Adrian.